I'm going to go straight on to Clive just because of time, but really want to encourage anybody, if you've been touched or inspired by anything that Kamala said, if you could just share that in the chat as a way of just acknowledging her contribution, but also just for your own learning and a way to, to just kind of let this time that we spent together work for you. So the final participant or the final contributor is Clive Naicker. Clive's story is also told in the book, chapter 14. I remember very clearly that day that we went to see Clive to do the interview for the book, and I was just so touched by his story. So I hope that you're going to have a similarly inspirational experience just listening to Clive about his experience. Over to you, Clive.
Thanks, Louise. Well, look, from what I've heard from my previous speakers, a lot has been said, and a lot of it I can relate to as well. And I was actually surprised to the amount of similarity the experience has happened over the number of different participants in the program. So, and maybe what I'll say, you'll find how it resonates with what has already been said as well, including Professor Brian. So just to continue with Elise's introduction, I'm from First Rand Bank and particularly focused on IT. And being in an IT department, your focus is also to deliver solutions. And naturally, you are looking to solve problems. And as Kamala has already said, when you are in the corporate environment, you're promoted and encouraged to solve problems, and you get to a point where you're very confident about solving the problems. You must have a good solution, and you sort of get yourself into a comfort zone. So you build this comfort zone around you that you are, the one army that's going to solve everybody's problems. So when PFP was introduced to me to join the program, firstly I thought in my background, my experience, I've actually not done enough from a social contribution perspective. So I wanted to do something different. And I've told Louise this, that when I started, I said, I'm going to solve Dalton's problems, my principal, my partner. I'm going to go there. I have big plans. I'm going to solve all these problems, and everything's going to be sorted before the program even ends. But yeah, I was in a big surprise. I realized, I suppose, as everybody has already heard, I've learned more about not just the school. I've learned, and my partner, I've learned more about myself through that whole experience. And I owe a lot to my partner being so open and honest with me as I have been with him. And I think it's a lot of how you interact with in the program, with the people, with your partner, with your coach, and it's getting out of that comfort zone and being immersed in that environment of where the challenge is, and a different type of challenge than what you're usually accustomed to in your work environment. That's where you begin to experience who you really are. What are your boundaries? How do you push those boundaries? How do you actually react to certain situations? And you can feel yourself sort of changing as well along this journey. And it's not just about the principal or the school, it's actually about you, and being in that environment. You get to experience it, and this is the key part of PFP for me. It's that experience. You have to have that experience in order to grow. Now, part of the learnings that I also picked up, and there's the number of them, and I've just written a few down. It's firstly, when you're on the program, you also need to let go. You can't bring all of your baggage and all of your prejudices and all of your paradigms of thinking with you. Just let everything go and just go with the motions of the program. Try not to relate what you're learning back to the office all the time. Let go of all your previous thinking and be immersed in the environment. And I think as you flow through it, you'll find that these things can be made practical. You don't have to enforce it all the time in the working environment, but you'll find that it comes through naturally. And I found that as well. The one thing, as Kamala has also mentioned, having that coach along the way, that person who you can always reflect with and have that time to think. And Dina was a fantastic coach. And the one thing which I always remember, and I keep doing it on a daily basis with my team, is you know, have they arrived? Have I arrived? Anytime you go into a meeting, instead of just starting the meeting off and going through the agenda items point by point, first thing I check is, has everybody actually arrived in the meeting? So you're in the room, but you're actually not there. And this is so relevant right now with these video conferencing meetings, because people are, you know, not necessarily on video conference, but they're on the laptops, they're on their phones, they're actually having conversations with other people while being on mute. So they haven't even arrived of being committed in that meeting. Now, I suppose the other thing which has been touched on in these discussions is the ability to lead without having the direct authority. And being part of this large group in first rank group, and in a center where I thought I was a good leader. So I thought I was actually, you know, I'm leading by influence. I'm doing all the right things. You know, I'm getting recognized. But until you're actually taken out of that comfort zone and you separated from the ranks, you separated from the corporate structures, and you find yourself in an environment where you're not the person who needs to with the challenges. Somebody else is with the challenges, and you don't necessarily have to have all the solutions to those challenges. And I found myself, as I'm working with Dalton, he actually has all the ideas. He just needed to speak about it. And the PFP program opened up that barrier. It really created that channel for Dalton to really talk about what he wants to do. What are these challenges? They are infrastructure challenges, but I tell you, Dalton managed to solve all his infrastructure challenges on his own. I went there day one. He says he needs to put up these curtains. I thought, okay, I can help you with that. But by the time the end of the year was over, Dalton did more than just put up curtains. He had a new kitchen installed, and there were new classrooms installed. And I was surprised. I was so amazed that he managed to do all of these things. But he turned around and said, the reason why he could do these things is because I was there to encourage him. I was there just to listen. And that for me was very, very humbling. And there's so many situations like this throughout the whole program, not just for Dalton, but visiting every school, where you are humbled by the amount of passion and commitment that teachers and principals have, and that is really life-changing. And as Louise has also said, being immersed in this environment bridges this gap that we've got in our society between the people who are privileged and the people who are not, and makes us understand and appreciate everybody's background. Yep. So, Louise, I know that this was really very short from my side, but I really just wanted to say those words. So thank you.
It's such a toss-up. On the one hand, Clive, we can have an hour and a half with you and with Grant and with Aisha and with Kamala, and yet we know that we only have little time. Everybody's so busy. So thank you very much for your contribution. Everybody, if you were touched or inspired by anything that Clive said, please could you share that. What I want